Hello, this is Eddie Riley. I'm the administrator of Cross Lanes Christian School in Cross Lanes, West Virginia. It's a beautiful day here on the campus of Cross Lanes, and I wanted to record outside. The trees are in bloom and the flowers are starting to come up through the ground. It's just a good source of encouragement during this time when we are in a pandemic quarantine. I will say that as we start our second installment of the State of the Onion, as we start to peel back some of the things that are happening during this particular time, that I'm impressed. I'm impressed with our faculty, with our staff, and their cooperation and collaboration in getting things together for distance learning. Why, just last week when we received the order that we would be at a stay-at-home situation, our elementary teachers got together and created packets of information, packets of work for their students that perhaps could last for the rest of the year, and then came to school, I believe it was on Monday night, and distributed those packets to parents as they came and picked them up. And also, as I talk with many of our teachers via text and phone calls, I'm just impressed with their creativity and their use of technology to embellish their distance learning lessons. It's just an impressive thing. It's something that I think we needed to do. We've needed to do for a long time, but now because of this pandemic, it has forced us to push forward. And I'm so impressed with these teachers who've taken crash courses, and also for those companies that have made their technology available for educators. And I think in the weeks to come, you're going to see more and more of these creative things that are coming out in lesson plans and lessons that our teachers are using. They're constantly talking to one another about something they've discovered or something they found. So again, I'm so appreciative of our faculty and staff and how they have come together and they're making this work. Also, I wanted to share with you that we're praying for you. We miss you. The school, the buildings around here are barren. It's like a ghost town in a sense. And I miss the sounds. I miss the laughter. I even miss the silliness of the students being here, and the sounds of teachers teaching and the noise and the things that happen during school. It just doesn't seem right, and it's not right. But we'll get through this. It'll happen in a couple of weeks, I hope, and we'll be back together and back amongst friends and family here at Cross Lanes Christian School. I also want to remind you that this is not unique to our country. I was reading back in 1917, there was a pandemic called the Spanish flu, and there were publications about quarantines, about social distancing. Grocery stores were closed, churches were closed, theaters were closed, all those things. There was a limit on the number of people that could gather. Again, this is not unique to our country. It has happened before, and our country has come out on top as a result of it. But at the same token, it is unique to us. We've never experienced anything like this. Someone reminded me that this year's seniors were born in a different world than most of us grew up in. 9/11 changed everything in just a few short hours. The world is different today, and it's all they know. But we know that the world was different. And I will say this, I'm not a prophet nor the son of a prophet, but I will say that once we're through this pandemic, the world will be different. There will be different directives. It'll be a different way we live, and a different way that we buy and sell and socialize and things like that. It will be different. And just like most of us can remember where we were and what we were doing on 9/11, we will all remember what we did and what we had to do and what we couldn't do during the pandemic of 2020. So again, we will get through this, but God is still in control. I'm reminded also of a passage of scripture that's found in Esther. Esther was a queen, and she became a queen. And Mordecai sends a message to Esther. As she became the queen, she became the one who would influence the king in salvation for, not salvation for their souls, but in saving of the Jewish people. And Mordecai made this statement. He said, "Esther, you are a queen for such a time as this." And I would say that we can relish in the fact that God has placed us in such a time as this. And we need to open our hearts and open our eyes and maybe appreciate each other more, appreciate our families more. And perhaps God's given us a chance to where we can sit back and relax and get some things done that maybe we put off, and maybe reevaluate and reflect on His goodness to us. When I was a boy, growing up in Hickory, North Carolina, my parents had a radio, an old radio, sitting on the kitchen table, and every morning they would listen to a radio commentator by the name of Paul Harvey. Paul Harvey was a conservative, well-spoken, well-respected gentleman on the radio. But there was a phrase that Paul Harvey said that I think fits during this pandemic and what we're going through. He made this statement: "It helps to remember that in times like these, there has always been times like these." Now, I hope you folks stay safe. I'll talk to you again next week, give you another update. Be healthy and pray one for another and lift each other up and do everything you can to stay healthy. And I'll talk to you next week. This is Mr. Riley signing off.